We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You are listening to The Underground Marketing Conspiracy, a secret ritual where entrepreneurs acquire highly classified and confidential business knowledge that the top 1% of income earners don't want you to know. And now, your host, Maddie Milligan.
What is up, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? Welcome to the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo! Yesterday I talked about my experience with multi-level marketing, and I promised that I would talk today about my experience with door-to-door sales. So let's go back probably, 10, 11, 12 years ago. Man, time flies fast. When I first started, I pretty much was at this point in my life when I knew that something had to change, and I really didn't have that much self-esteem growing up, and I was very afraid to talk with people, and I knew that that was really holding me back. I knew no one else could do this for me. I'd worked a few jobs. I'd worked at this grocery store, worked there for a couple of years, and it transitioned from one brand into the other, and it was a really good experience because it kind of got me out of my shell. It made me realize, whoa, I actually have value in the world. I can contribute and help other people, which made me feel really good. And sometimes when I would help people take out their groceries, they would call me and do a carry out for some people, and I would carry out their groceries to their car, and then they would tip me. I remember the time that I first got a tip. I was like, oh man, wow, I've never been tipped before. All the other jobs I had when I was a timekeeper at a hockey arena. Yeah, that was my first job. I kept scores in hockey games and announced the winners, where I was like, number 34, goal scored by number 34, Austin Matthews, unassisted. And I would basically do stuff like that. And I would keep track of everything, and I was really good at this. Time clock they had was so old school, and there was people would always put gum on it, and they would eat pretzels and touch the buttons, so it was disgusting. So one of my things is I would come in a little bit early and actually clean it with Q-tips and sanitize the whole thing. All right, but we're getting sidetracked. So after that grocery store job, I worked construction. All right, I lasted there a month. After the first day, I have never been that sore in my entire life. And I realized, I'm like, this is not for me. And it got me in probably even a few days doing that job got me in decent shape. And it was just a very sketchy job. You would ride on this very rickety truck with other people. And in some cases, they were either full-blown alcoholics or they were fresh off the boat from other countries, so they barely spoke a word of English. And that was fine. It's how I made money. It was a cash job, and yeah, made me some money at the time. But after about a month, the dude who ran it was kind of a jerk, and he was always yelling at us for not putting away the buckets and shovels. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. I need to find something else. So I started looking, and I saw this signpost on the door where it's like, make $500 a day. And it was on the side of a bus stop. And I was like, oh, cool. And I'm sure people are listening and they're like, oh, so wait, let me get this straight. There was a job there and you took it off the side of a bus stop, right? And it's like, hey, we're having a job fair. And I'm like, yeah, seems legit enough to me. So I go there to this job fair that they have a week later, and they were pretty much pitching everyone. And I remember this dude who pitched it, super positive guy who was actually the dude who really motivated me. This dude, James, for listening, what up? Super cool dude. I remember very passionate, enthusiastic man. And he basically showed the PowerPoint presentation of what the expectations were for this job and really what the job entailed and how much money you could actually make out of doing this specific job. So of course I was a bright-eyed, young, ambitious man. And all I really wanted to do at this point was make money, make my mama proud, show the world that I could make something of myself. And the thing that I wanted most in the entire world, though, was to get outside of my head and really become comfortable talking with people. So I signed up, started doing it. This job was pretty ridiculous. You had to be there at 8 a.m. every day. And if you weren't there, you couldn't work for the day, which is totally acceptable. This really developed a strong work ethic in me when it's like, all right, if you say you're going to do something, Maddie, you do it. All right? No more excuses. Just if you say you're going to show up at 8 a.m. every day, you're going to show up there. You're going to show up a little bit early. You're going to be ready, and you're just going to go out there. And if other people are probably going to make fun of you, you're going to fail, but whatever, man. All the way you've been living your life at this point hasn't helped you. So you know what, dude? Let's just step up and start something, all right? Let's stop being a shy little baby boy, and let's grow up and be a man. So I remember my first day. I'm so out of shape, too. I go, oh, man. And it was this job where you would go and aerate people's lawns, basically. And I knew nothing about it. When I was younger, I did do some canvassing for my brother's hockey team and absolutely crushed it. And I would basically just like guilt trip people because I was an adorable little boy into donating to that, all right? And I was really good at that. So I'm like, okay, let's just do that and I can eventually step up and gain confidence. But I remember just getting dropped off there. You drive to some random suburb in Ontario, and then essentially what ends up happening is that you just start knocking on doors, and the truck just leaves, and it's like, oh my God. And I remember I was seeing the other people who got dropped off, who the route manager was like, yeah, this guy's awesome. Yeah, this guy's awesome. Look at him. And the guy would just start running to doors, and I'm like, oh man. And I disliked running and any kind of exercise, and I'm in terrible shape. So first day, I started just walking door to door, and I remember on my fourth or fifth property, I made a sale, and everything changed. I was like, wow. I can just go and talk to people and make money. Like I can't believe, like how did this even happen? And I think that day I made like 4 or 5 or 6 sales. I don't remember, but I remember it was the most amount of money I'd ever made in one day on like my first day doing this. And I was just like, wow, like identity shift completely, like confident, like money, whatever. Confidence, self-esteem just skyrocketed. Self-image changed. And I was just like, whoa. And at this point, I hadn't met the owner of the company. This guy was a really intense guy. And you have to run a door-to-door sales business. That's the way you are. I have a massive amount of respect for this guy. There's all sorts of people who speak badly of this guy. But I've always liked this gentleman. All right. He's always someone I've deeply respected. And there were times when he would be my route manager and I sucked. And I was being a little wimp, and he wasn't that hard on me. He would give me words of wisdom that at the time I felt were mean, but now I'm like, okay, he was doing that to help me. So he'll always have my respect. Super successful guy, runs other businesses, does these free events as well from time to time, which I really need to check out. And I've actually made a new friend as well who is a mutual acquaintance of his who is also lives in Toronto in the GTA and is crushing it online as well. He did some insane amount of sales the other day, and I'm like, whoa, okay, I need to get to that guy's level, and I'm glad he's in my network because I can model what he's doing. So that's kind of my experience with door-to-door sales, and I did that for a few years, and I got tired of it, and I realized, okay, I want to kind of start figuring out the corporate world, and maybe I can make it there. And there was a point, again, when I traveled through Australia. I'll talk about that another time, but that was kind of my experience with door-to-door sales. So a few weeks ago, I had a meeting with a couple of guys who were really good at door-to-door sales, but they were trying to build a team. They were trying to really expand it. I think one of them did solar energy. The other one did property maintenance stuff. And one of them was recruiting. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the other guy is like, okay, like how do I really maximize? Like how would I use funnels for door-to-door sales? And I'm like, well, it's pretty straightforward. You get a specific domain, you put it on your business card, and you go and knock on some doors. And if the person doesn't buy right then and there, you just send them to their funnel. And you can give them a chance to book online, or you can give them a chance to buy the service right then and there. Again, offer many things. Maybe have a very inexpensive tripwire offer. Like that way, when you talk to the person, you give them their business card, it legitimizes you. I don't know where you're located listening to this too. I don't know what the laws are and regulations. I'm in Ontario. I know now, I think you have to have some sort of neck collar or whatever those things are, a badge that shows what your name is, what company you work for, and that at least legitimizes you. And I'm so going to make a follow-up to this because I have so many good stories from doing door-to-door sales. Oh man, I have endless amounts of material. Just doing that would be awesome. There's a bunch of other movies as well I'll talk about in the future because I'm going to rewatch one with my buddy who I've actually done door-to-door sales with. And I think this guy is honestly the best salesman I've ever had. He doesn't know it, and back in the day, 10 years ago, this guy would absolutely crush it. Even though he was a little bit overweight at the time, and still is, to be honest, he would absolutely crush door-to-door sales. He would destroy me. And I think he just has this natural sense of empathy and understanding other people and really getting them to see how ridiculous their objections are. And he just won't take no for an answer. He's like this pit bull, right? When you give him, like, he'll bite into you and he just won't let go, which is something that I've always respected about him as well. So, but with these other guys, they're like, okay, how do I do this? Like, this one guy wanted to make a hiring funnel for that. And I'm like, well, it's pretty straightforward. If you want to just hire people, just the same presentation that you probably give at your job fairs, just do that online in a webinar, right? Like, run some ads or post in all those free job sites like Indeed, Monster.ca, all of these recruiting sites, and LinkedIn as well, and even on Facebook, and just be like, hey, this date we have a job fair coming up. It's online. You don't even need to travel anywhere. Just go here, and I'm going to show you an awesome opportunity. At the end, you'll have the option to sign up, and it's like, there you go. You go it. You pitch it. You show your best case studies of people. You show how awesome the culture is. You show how much money they can make. You show as well how much confidence and self-esteem they're going to build, because again, that for me was the biggest thing. And then again, at the end, you pitch them, and it's like, hey, if you want to get started, go to this page and fill out your information application, and we'll get started. And again, offer bonuses as well, because bonuses are huge incentives if you're running a door-to-door sales company. But a lot of people are like, oh, these door-to-door people, like they're swindlers and scammers. Of course there are people out there that do that, right? Of course there are these people who go and they try and scheme people or whatever. But for me, that was never my intention. All I cared about was really gaining self-esteem, and I believed at the time in the service, and I believed it had value, and it helped people make their properties look a lot better. So it made it a lot easier for me. If you're selling something that you despise, then go and find something else that you want to sell. Biggest tip, I think I learned this from Grant Cardone when it comes to selling, you need to buy your own product. Whatever it is that you're selling. Like, how could me, without funnels, I realized this recently, how could I sell funnels if I didn't have a funnel myself? So that's why I'm like, okay, I need to rebuild my thing. Whenever I tell people content, I'm like, hey, you need to go out and create content. They're like, well, where's your content? And in the past, I'm like, you're absolutely right. But now it's like, dude, I have a podcast. I'm creating an episode every single day for the rest of time. And sure, maybe at some point I'll stop this podcast or change the name and edit into another one, because I know that using the word conspiracy is automatically going to make me rank lower on all the search engines in Google and Yahoo, and as well as just not be shown to as many people and reach as many people and get the kind of engagement just because the word conspiracy is frowned upon and people are like, oh, conspiracy, whatever. But that doesn't matter, right? Buying into what you believe in is going to make it so much easier to sell that thing. So if you sell shoes at a shoe store and there's a couple of pairs that you're always pitching to people, you should probably own those exact pair of shoes, because it just allows you to do that, right? Simplest way to explain sales is it's a transference of emotion from one person to the other. So if you have that deep emotion about your product, you can just keep talking about it. You don't even need to share the technical details, which is where so many people make a mistake with selling. Just talk about how passionate were you prefer, right? Share your Epiphany Bridge script. And if you don't know the Epiphany Bridge script and your backstory, I think it's on page 107 of Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. So go and get your copy of that right now. It's like $7.99 shipping. There's a bunch of upsells in their funnel, but you don't even need to buy those. Just get the book and actually read it. All right. So I'm definitely going to have another episode on door-to-door sales. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. If you did, I want you to consider subscribing. That's A. B, I want you to consider listening to some other episodes, maybe sharing this with a friend. Consider leaving a sweet review. Or if you don't like it, you can give me a negative review. I'm not going to get angry at you. Don't worry, dude. And if you want to find out more about me, my name is Matty Milligan. You can visit me at mattymilligan.com. And I'm going to see you guys next time on another episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!